In this video, I would like to explain how you can update the Elasticstack version of the Axway API management Elastic integration. I do not focus on the solution itself, so that means updating it in general, as this is, let's say, very easy and well documented, I believe. So, and for that, I'm opening the update.md, which is also linked here in the page, of course, which contains the necessary information how to update the solution, especially when you have used the Docker Compose approach. For using Helm, there's a dedicated page. In general, just a few words. It is the idea that you get the Elastic, not the Elastic, you know, the solution, the Axway API management Elastic integration package, unpackage this, then you copy over your .env file, or you use symlinks or whatever. You make sure that your parameters are taken over and so on and so forth. And then you're restarting all the components that have changed between the version you currently run and the version you're going to. So if you are updating, for instance, from that version to this version, then you know that you have to change, or you have to restart API Builder because it has changed. You have to restart Logstash because the configuration has changed. Memcache, no need. For Admin Node Manager, nothing has changed, and so on and so forth. So also here, dashboards has been added, so it makes sense to import them. And all these X's are basically links then to the step to update that individual component. So, but that's all I would like to tell you about updating the solution in general. In this video, I'm updating from that version to this version, and here the Elastic version has changed from that version 7.14 to 7.16.1. And I would like to give you the details. Currently, as I said, I'm running on 7.14.0, and I have at the moment a two node Elasticsearch cluster. And Elastic is saying that's not sufficient, especially when you do an upgrade, when you do maintenance. So that means you have to have 3 Elasticsearch nodes. And this is documented here, also why this is necessary. And here's the information how you can add an additional Elasticsearch node. And this is what I'm going to do now by clearing the screen. And I do this in the current version I'm running. So I say Docker Compose -f Elasticsearch, and here you have the option to start additional Elasticsearch nodes just by providing the number, and then you can say up-d. And this brings up another Elasticsearch node to my cluster. So one word about the Elasticsearch hosts, which is configured in your .env file. Let me quickly show you that documentation page. This is only used by the clients. So clients are everything that is talking to Elasticsearch, like Filebeat, like API Builder, like Logstash, and even MetricBeat if you're using it. And Kibana is missing here in the list. So that means these clients are using the number of Elasticsearch hosts, the comma separated list, to establish a high available communication to Elasticsearch. So if this one goes down, then it knows the client can use this one. For the update I'm doing right now, it is not necessary to modify that list and restart all services, because I'm sticking afterwards with my 2-node Elasticsearch cluster. But have in mind, especially for maintenance, you have to have a 3-node Elasticsearch cluster. So, and Docker logs. I think we have now a 3-node Elasticsearch cluster. So, and automatically Elasticsearch is now rebalancing. It has balanced all charts. We have not so many at the moment. It's only an empty system. And we have 1 master node. And this is the important thing, why you have to have 3 Elasticsearch nodes. Because when this one goes down, and then Elasticsearch takes a moment and then it is electing a new master. So that's why, as we have now 3, I can follow the process as it is documented here in the page. So that means I have grabbed my new desired release, and I will now modify the .env file to make sure that the correct Elastic version is in the .env file, because I have copied the .env file from the existing version, and that's why I need to manually change that. So let me do this by normally you would go and say that you call that wget. Let me just show that to you. So we go into the main page, and here we have the preparations, and with that one you get, for instance, that version downloaded and extracted. And this is what I have already done. And that's why if I make here a listing, I do have now the old version and I have the new version. And if I go into that folder, I even have already copied over the .env file from the previous version. But let me copy that over again to show you how that works and what the intention here is about what I'm trying to explain into that folder. And if I now open that env file, of course it contains the Elasticsearch version which we currently have. And the version which is stated here in the update.md is just what has been delivered with, or what has been packaged as a default Elastic version. You can even use another one if you want. That's no problem. So I can even say, I know there is already a 7.16.2 out there and I could use that one, but I know that I have downloaded the Docker images already for the 7.16.1, and that's why I stick with that one. All the rest of the parameters can be untouched, because these parameters are your parameters. Besides, if you have here in the column params additional params added, then you get an instruction to check the changelog or whatever. But between that version and this version, no parameters, nothing has changed. So that means I can just go with that. So let me save that. And now go back to the documentation. So we have updated the Elasticsearch version. We are making sure, of course, if not everything is running on the same version, that we do the same on all machines. And also we talked about the Elasticsearch host to make sure that you are using multiple ones to avoid that these clients cannot communicate to Elasticsearch. And now we are updating the Elasticsearch. And this goes node by node of the Elasticsearch cluster. And so it's basically that we are that we stop a node and that we bring up the node with the new version. That's all. So let's say we stop Docker stop number 1, which is currently the master, and I do this by intent. So this is the master, and now we are stopping the master. And what now happens, as the Elasticsearch master is then not available for a while, Elasticsearch is electing a new master. And this election only works and is successful if you have a quorum of nodes remaining. Now you see that the master has been changed to Elasticsearch number 2. So, and now we can just bring that up again. Docker compose up -d. Nope, that's wrong. Elasticsearch Docker compose. We would like to bring up the first master node. Well, not the first master, the first node. Recreating it, and it's now recreating it because we're using a new version. So you see it's now the 7.16.1, and let's wait until this one has been started. The important thing is, before you continue to any other node, make sure that this one is up and running. So that means this one should not be away, it should not be offline, because it needs to join now the cluster before we take off this master. This is important because when you take the master offline and you have only one remaining, and then the new ones cannot join the cluster anymore, because now this one is considered as a new node with a new version, and that needs to rejoin the cluster. So let me refresh that. It's still offline. sometimes you do see error messages, failed to download the Geolite database. I do see this, but it doesn't matter. And offline, and now it's online, and it's starting to rebalance on that cluster. And now we have updated Elasticsearch number 1, and we continue with the other node. We say Elasticsearch number 2, which is the current master, but as we now have still 2 Elasticsearch nodes remaining, it's not a problem. So this one is offline. Let's see what happens. So this is okay, because sometimes, or of course, the master is not yet elected. It might take a moment. I believe even if you sometimes entirely try to restart Kibana, it can be that Kibana is not available for the moment. So it has decided to go back to Elasticsearch number 1. The status is red. That's interesting. Let me check what the problem is. NDC status is yellow. Why is the master status red? So docker logs Elasticsearch 1-f. So I'm not sure why this status became yellow, became red. Let me check if I can find the error. So red reason, Elasticsearch number 2. What is with number 2? Disconnected, which was our intent. And let's see if this... Okay, in that case, I would go and restart that node with the previous version again, just to make sure that that the cluster stays healthy. So that means I go back to the previous version, say docker compose Elasticsearch, docker compose app-d. You could also just simply say docker start Elasticsearch number 1. So let's wait. Maybe that's a good exercise. So docker logs Elasticsearch 2-f. Okay. So now here the node has, I believe, joined the cluster again. Master node changed, Elasticsearch 1 current, okay. So now I'm going to wait until this status is no longer red. So that means I don't recommend to continue. Yeah, now it has changed to yellow. Let's just wait until it is back green again before trying again to shut down the Elasticsearch number 2. In my case, it doesn't take very long because my shards are almost empty, my indices. In your case, it might take longer, but have in mind, as long as you have 2 nodes online, the cluster is working, you have no downtime, so don't get panic. So let's check for the yellow. docker logs Elasticsearch #1 pipe red yellow. Red to yellow. Okay. I'm going to pause this video now until the status become green. So the cluster didn't automatically become green again, and I went to the Axway API management. I see there's missing replica shards. So, and that means I went to indices, because here I can see, in my case, some system indices cannot be assigned, let's say, are missing shards, so that means they are unassigned. And I wanted to know what is the problem with these indices, why they cannot be assigned. And for that you can use the dev tools, and here you can use cluster allocation explain, and then for instance Kibana master task manager and so on, blah blah blah. And here it is saying that cannot allocate a replica shard to a node with version 7.14.0 since this is older than the primary shard version. And that's why I'm going to accept this now, and I'm going to continue. And so for that, I'm saying again docker stop Elasticsearch 2. Yeah, I need to say stop for that. And then I bring up the new version, Elasticsearch docker compose to -d. Docker logs Elasticsearch 2 to see what happens. So I think it has already joined the cluster. So again, this may happen. Geolite database download failed. This is interesting here. I believe master node has changed, previous one. So that means this is indicating that this Elasticsearch #2 is talking to Elasticsearch #1 to the cluster itself. So let's go and check in Kibana. Now what the status is. So everything is healthy again, and we can go to the nodes. And as I don't want to continue with the 3-node cluster in my case, I'm going to stop that Elasticsearch 3 now. Docker stop Elasticsearch 3. So, and the last thing I'm going to do in this video is to update Kibana. Kibana needs to be updated after you have updated Elasticsearch. So let's go and say docker stop Kibana. It is the same process. You stop the previous container, and out of the new directory you restart Kibana, and then you get a new Kibana Docker image of Docker container, of course. So docker compose -f Kibana docker compose, and then it's recreating a new Kibana. Docker logs Kibana -f. And of course you could even avoid a downtime for Kibana somehow if you start Kibana on a different node instead of shutting down the existing Kibana node. I think that's pretty simple. So let's check. So I think it makes sense to reload the page. Kibana is not yet ready. Migration completed. Starting plugins. And I think now it is running. And let's go. And let's check for the stack management. It's now on 7.16.1. And the stack monitoring. We have 2 nodes, healthy, and here we have at the moment 2, but the old one will disappear after a while. So that means we have now Kibana also updated. For all the other components, it is basically the same. You stop the previous one, and out of the new directory you update the new one. So that's more or less everything I wanted to explain in this video, and I really hope it is helpful to you. Thanks.